am not a football rocket scientist. No way, no how. Know a little bit about the game, but I know 100% that I can improve the Miami Dolphins running attack easy as 1, 2, 3. And I ain't joking. 3 steps will improve this running attack. And we have the second best passing attack in the league right now. 8 of the top individual performances, 4 of them by receiver, 4 of them are held by our guys, Waddle and Hill. Yet, we've got the 28th rushing attack and the 16th least points created by the offense. So you have top passing game with elite receivers and one of the worst running attacks in the league, and your points are in the middle. Much like when Gailey was here, you don't need the 1990s Dallas Cowboys with the current era of football and with the receivers that we have. But we need to go from the toilet bowl at least to the rim. And if we can go to the rim, this passing game, along with the rim running game, will create more points and we will see easier and more victories, especially against the harder teams. We just need to get to below average. And again, it's easy as 1, 2, and 3. Now, I'm going to get into that in a second. Give you the whole spiel and the kit and caboodle and the 9 yards in just a second. But I want to say thank you for stopping by. I always appreciate the likes, the subscribes, the comments especially, the views, everything. You guys really make this channel happen. A little behind on my comments, and it's bothering me. I'm going to get to them. I'm going to start working on them tonight after this podcast. I got more podcast film studies tomorrow. I've been working on all day. So I'm going to get to those comments because they mean the world to me. I want to give you guys a shout out and a shout out to Ace Per Head, my sponsor, because without you and without them, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, so I'm not going to go on long because really, basically, it's a very, very simple thing. You know, of course, there's always nuance and stuff like that. But I'm going to lay out my points. I'm going to start at 1 and then go to 2 and amazingly go to 3. Now, 1 is something I never, ever in my life of studying this team, or I should say over the last couple of years of studying this team, thought I would say. But clearly, I am going to say it. Part of me, recoils at the thought of saying it. But Austin Jackson needs to start at right tackle when he comes back. Now, he has athleticism. There's issues. We didn't get to see enough of him this year to see him develop, but I saw him in preseason. I kind of felt like maybe there's a little bit of growth, but not great. Subpar still. But in this scenario, subpar is very, very doable because with him at that right tackle spot, the next move I would make, number 2, is bench Eichenberg. 100%. He needs to go to the bench for many reasons. 1, because he's terrible. His play in an easier position than he played last year is still bottom of the league. And so Jackson is a little bit better, and it's a little bit better at a harder position as at tackle. Eichenberg is just as poor, being guarded by Tehran and Connor, so he needs to go on the bench. And number 3, and I will give all my reasons why, Shell needs to move into that left tackle spot, the left guard spot. And it would be my man Tehran. Shell at left guard, Connor, Hunt, and Jackson. And the reason these would be so good, I'm going to get into. But I'm going to go over to show you how Shell is clearly a sizable upgrade over Eichenberg. Some of you might say no duh. Some of you might not say so. It's not that Shell is elite in any way. But Eichenberg is so poor and has so many issues going on that clearly Shell will be an upgrade no matter what. Now, let me get into it. But first, I want to say this is not a knock on the kid in any way, shape, or form. I think him sitting on the bench will go a long way to helping him improve. He can improve. It might take some time. It's not his fault. He didn't draft himself onto this team with the second and third and then have to force him in when the staff said he's a guard and somehow people got fired and he was forced to play tackle. That wasn't him. But he's been rushed in just like Jackson was rushed in, and because of his pedigree forced to perform and forced to get a starting role without really seizing it. And that's never really good unless you're super, super elite. And neither of these guys were. So, I want to show you this little video here. My man Tehran being the godfather of this offensive line. And you can see here, the first snap of the game, kid makes a false start. And you can see his demeanor. It is down. And I just love the way Tehran comes up to him. And he's like a father to him. You can see him put his hand on his stomach, pull him in close, and give him a talking to. And this is why I love Tehran. And this is why it's so crucial for him to be on the team. He's bolstering this kid. He's holding this kid up. And while you might say, well, if we just give it more time, maybe this kid will get better. History and trends say the likely case is he's going to continue to struggle and his confidence is going to get sucked away. He doesn't want to be responsible for losing games, and he has been the biggest eyesore, for the most part, on this offense. And he's got to sit in his position group meetings to watch the film week in and week out. He's got to sit in the team meetings and watch the film week in and week out. And everybody sees. And it's got to be uncomfortable. This kid needs to sit down, get my man Tehran to help build him up while he watches, grows, and rebuilds. Now, in the meantime, you can compare Eichenberg and you can compare Shell. Shell started out at left tackle. He moved to right tackle. And so the stats that I'm giving you is at a harder position. When you play tackle, you've got all that space to either the left side if you're on the left side, all that space on the right side if you're on the right side. It demands a certain kind of athleticism. It alters things a lot compared to when you're sandwiched in between a tackle and a center at guard. It limits the need of high-end maneuverability. And this is why when you compare the two players, you'll see that Shell, if he gets moved inside, he'll be a clear upgrade. Again, not elite. Now, Eichenberg, 6'5", 305. Shell is 6'5", 324. And if you see this guy, he is naturally man-built. The guy's got giant shoulders. He just has a stronger build. And strength plays a massive part to this game unless your technique is absolutely awesome. And then you still need core. You can't just have good technique. You've got to have very good core strength if you don't have that raw power. And Eichenberg doesn't have either. He doesn't have great technique, and he doesn't have great core power, and he doesn't have great raw power. So it's three things. You can get there. He's still young. A lot of tackles and guards, they develop like 26, 27. It takes a little while. Now, I'm going to give you the stats. Eichenberg, 296 snaps. He's had 3 penalties. He's allowed 2 sacks, 4 hits, 13 hurries, and 19 pressures total. Now, you might not like PFF, whatever. Just take it for what it is. His overall grade is 37.8. But when he's in true pass set, that means he's the guy. It's not a zone thing and he's swapping another guy. It's like him doing it. It's all him. Don't break the glass. Don't get too excited. It drops from 37.8 to 16.8. He's covered so much. They'll move him on pull block to get him out of the way, to keep him on the back end side, move him out, and put somebody else there. They'll protect him with Connor or Tehran or scheme him in. You don't need to do that as much with Shell. And it alters his performance. His performance, if you gave him the hard duties most of the time, would be worse than this. Now, Shell, he's had 133 snaps, all a tackle on both sides. His overall pass blocking grade, before that was 37.8, the pass blocking grade. His for Eichenberg. For Shell, it has been 43.7. He's given up 1 penalty, no sacks, 5 hits, 6 hurries, 11 pressures, and his true pass set grade is 45. So when he's in a group and he's, working together, it's pretty much the same as his true pass set blocking grade. And both Eichenberg and Shell have a 92 rough efficiency percentage. But again, Eichenberg is protected quite often. He's at the easier position. If Shell were there, you would see these things boost up substantially, especially if he was being protected like Eichenberg is. And there's times when they go to protect Eichenberg and they force a Hunt to do the pull block, come down here or whatever, and it doesn't really work. He can't get there quick enough. And so it kind of compromises the rest of the line. Now, the run blocking grade by PFF standards, I'm trying to do it relatively quickly, and I think it's pretty fair. It's 60, which is slightly subpar for Shell, but again, a tackle, and that means he's got to move and deal with quicker guys, which that's not really his strong suit. And then for Eichenberg, inside, being protected, it's 48.4. So however you slice it, you're going to see at least a 10 to 15% improvement from Shell. Just if you took the raw grades and the raw production at a harder position for Shell and an easier position for Eichenberg, and then you could possibly see more. And this is why I think you could even see more. Now, addition by subtraction. He is the weakest link by far. So pulling him out, you're bringing in a vet, a bigger guy, a guy who's been able to be more successful in him at tackle. Clearly, the weakest link, even if he remains the weakest link, and Jackson somehow rises his talent, is going to lift. A rising tide raises all boats. Now, the key is decent and deep. Shell's not the long term, I don't think. Maybe he comes in and plays his mind out. I like him better. I think he's got more movement skills than Jones. Jones is our best backup until Shell becomes a backup if Jackson comes in. But Jones kind of lacks movement skills on that zone stretch where I think Shell has proved if he can play tackle, not being totally a debacle, or occasionally it has been a little bit of a debacle. Inside, he'll be able to hat on hat he'll be able to double with Connor, and he'll be able to peel off and get to the second level, or if they're going the other way, double with Connor, be hat on hat, and let Connor get to the second level. He'll have the power to hold his position, play even more, a little inside zone runs, because we do run inside zones. He won't be bullied as quickly and as easy as Eichenberg. He'll have his space constrained. He won't have to guard so much. And he's a vet who'll be able to work with Tehran better, and Tehran won't have to babysit him, and Connor won't be able to have to babysit him as much either. All this is going to lift things up. And Connor has some excellent run blocks. This week, he had his best game in run blocking. But he does, at times, show some susceptibility to power. And Eichenberg is weak. And so you have two guys in that A gap that are weak. And it puts a lot of pressure as far as schematics, philosophy, and execution because of this. But if you put Shell there, you're increasing the power, and you're going to have Hunt on one side, Shell on the other, two big guys sandwiching kind of in between and offsetting some of his weaknesses. There's a lot of things you can do. If you got a nose tackle of Akana, you can angle block with Shell and then have Kana pull, and he's able to do stuff like that. You could do all kind of things you cannot do with Eichenberg. He's not capable to drive block. He's a shielder. And so if you can have two beefy dudes at the guard position, along with Kana, who's an excellent run blocker, your interior is now stout, and you can zone stretch left and zone stretch right, and the center won't get broken as much. And this will open the cutback. And with a guy like Mostert, you could see Tehran is able to get his guy out there, and it stretches everything out. And if you can keep the protection inside, the run blocking without it snapping, and the pressure coming in and driving Eichenberg back behind the line of scrimmage, which snaps the stretch, there's going to be so many opportunities, along with drive blocking in an inside zone or in goal line situations. Eichenberg is a huge, huge limiter in goal line short situations because he can't do it on his own. He needs help. Now, last bit, a little cherry on top of GM Coach Curtis. I'm a nobody. I understand this. I'm just a guy. But for me, we're not keeping Gesicki long term. And if we are, that means Hunter is a waste, our third round pick. Most likely, we're going to move off Gesicki next year, if not during a trade deadline. And also Wilson. He's like returning now. It's almost like a waste. Sherfield is really good, man. He's doing his job. We don't need... Move these guys for a quality tight end who can block. He can block a little and catch a little. I would prefer moving Wilson and a little capital. Instead of like going for an offensive lineman, get yourself a biggish blocking tight end who can also catch a little bit. They're a little cheaper. You can move a guy like Wilson, a little bit of capital and maybe something else, and get him in there. And then you can even keep Gesicki in the next year and just say, we screwed up on Hunter Long, or keep him and see if he can make it through camp. But if you could bring in a semi-blocking tight end with a little size, then you could even put Gesicki at that third wide receiver spot in your three wides, and you could have Smythe and a semi-blocking tight end along with Tehran, Shell, Connor, Hunt, and Jackson. And the semi-blocking tight end or Smythe can help Jackson then. And you don't have to keep 7 guys in to help the tackle out who needs help, and then Eichenberg, who's a half a blocker. These little moves will add power and strength to the front. You'll be able to send more guys into routes because you'll have higher level of protection, and you don't need to double and triple up because your guys stink in certain areas. This is my fix. 1, 2, 3. Put Jackson, I can't believe I'm saying this. Put Jackson at right tackle. Sit Eichenberg down. Let the kid develop. Let the kid grow. Put Shell there. And then the cherry on top, find yourself somewhere a semi-big, semi-good blocking tight end who can catch a little bit. And if you have to move a little capital, it'll be a lot cheaper than trying to get yourself a cornerback or an offensive lineman where you got to pay through the nose and get lesser talent. Because you're really not going to find that kind of stuff. But you might be able to find a tight end. You might have an asset. Even if it's Gesicki, I would even do it. I would even do it. Because are you going to keep him long term? You don't have the cash. You don't got the capital. So that's my fix. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me if I'm crazy or not. We need to run this football. If we run this football just a little bit, a little success, inconsistency, it will create consistency on everything. And when we head into these bad weather games, which are common in the ugliness of late fall and early winter, we will have that edge to suck up the defense as they bite on an actual run game. And then you'll see Hill and Waddle do stuff that we've never seen before. We get a running game with Hill and Waddle, and we will be the magic show. Anyway, Curtis saying thanks for staying to the end. Please like, comment, subscribe. Comments mean the most. I'm going to get to them today, guys. I value all your thoughts. Go Fins. If they don't do this, I hope they just do something. We need to run football. Anyway, catch you next time. Be well. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with acebread.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.